What the going on this team, Jerry?
Bury him! Bury him!
Jerry, TJ Watt.
He is the best defensive player on the planet.
Go! Yes! Yes! We're going on fire! Steelers fans! Bang! Run it down their throat!
No! That's not a penalty!
Game over! Game over! Don't ask me to do nothing! This is nothing!
He's aggressive.
Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Steel Here podcast, where I'm your host, Kevin Adams, alongside my partner in crime, Jersey Jerry. Jerry Don, the boys go out to Philadelphia and they get their doors blown off in the second half. And it was an ugly team loss. Not exactly the way that we thought it was going to go. You know, we didn't have the highest of hopes, but halfway through that game, I thought maybe they had a significant chance, and then kind of just shit their pants and fell apart later in the game. After a loss like that, Jerry, is it time to maybe worry that the Steelers are not quite on the level that we want them to be on, or can you just chalk that up to a loss when you don't have some of your best players on the field?
I think a little bit of both, Kev. I think you could chalk that up to a loss, not having your best players. But, I think it's a little bit of both, man. I'm definitely more worried than I have been throughout the year. I will say that, you know. But at the end of the day, you don't have George Pickens, no Deshaun Elliott, no Larry O. So it's a little difficult. I will say this team is entirely different without George Pickens, at least from the offensive side of the football. They will not be able to compete with teams like the Eagles, Chiefs, Bills without George Pickens. I think it's obvious, you know. I know we only played one game without him against the Eagles, but you've seen that. And if you've seen that once, you're most likely going to see that again against teams like the Chiefs and the Bills and whatnot, teams like the Ravens. I'm sure you'll see that with no George Pickens. So I think it's really big that George plays this week. TJ Watt, definitely a scare. Throughout the game, though, I felt like you're right. We were in it, you know. We got down early. We fought back a little bit. Najee fumble was big. A lot of penalties were big. It was just a sloppy game. Poorly coached game. Officiating was bad. Play calling was not great at all. Guys were just not getting open. The pass rush was there a little bit early. That faded really late. 2 possessions in the second half is crazy. That's got to be a fucking record. I never seen that, since I started watching football as a young kid. But, I hope Tom was right what he said in his press conference. It's just a loss.
Yep.
It's a loss, and that's it. I hope it's not more than that. We will see what this team is really about these next couple weeks.
Jerry, let's start at the top, because honestly, the story to the game was that this team just refuses to start fast. Like, it is impossible for them to start a game fast, man. It is fucking insane. And the play calling early, again, Arthur Smith, friend of the show, don't want to say too many negative things, but it just wouldn't be you and I if we don't keep it real. The play calling was horrendous. I mean, the play calling was absolutely dog shit. The Steelers ran 12 pitches, Jerry. 12 outside pitches to Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, or Cordero Patterson. I mean, what do you expect to do with those?
They ran one of the, misdirections, and it went for a little burst. That was the only time they called it.
Yep.
But yeah, they're kind of obsessed in a way with these tosses to the outside with Najee, which I don't really understand. And yes, he fumbled. I'm not saying that the toss was to blame, because it's not. He should have, not fumbled that ball. That was a pretty bad fumble in a critical spot in that game. But yeah, I don't know, Kev. The tosses, I don't really understand them. I'm not a big fan of them.
Jerry, the toss, they ran 12 of them. You know how many yards? Just take a guess. How many yards do you think they had on 12 total toss plays?
12, 15?
They had 12 yards on 12 toss plays.
That's
12
bad.
running plays, they had 12 yards.
I watched the game, so I know they didn't have anything big, so I just figured, let me just take a guess. I know it's low. It's pretty bad.
I'm going to read you a stat that just encapsulates kind of yesterday and overall who we are as a team, other than in that Bengals game. Because when we say they don't start fast, the only game I felt like the Steelers came out ready to fucking shoot the bullets was in that Bengals game. They came out fast. Russ makes the checks at the lines. They're throwing the ball all the way down the field. Consecutive drives to start that game. That is the only time. And now as I think about it, if you remember kind of some of the things that they said after the game, was that they had intended to run the ball a lot in that Bengals game, but Russ saw the checks at the line and changed out of some of the plays that he and Arthur Smith had worked out. So their plan was to still run the ball. It's just Russ decided to change it out. So the Steelers are 28th in efficiency of runs this season with a 25th in run success rate. A normal stat that you would understand, 29th in yards per attempt. So for how much we run the ball, we're shitty at running the football. I mean,
Yes.
we're just not a very successful running team, but they just continue to do it, grind it out, grind it out. Yesterday was a perfect example of why you have to start games fast, because you have the 2 takeaways early in the game in a hostile environment. You said it, the pass rush comes out great. They played electric in the first half. I thought the pass rush rattled Jalen Hurts, had him dancing all through the pocket. TJ Watt had maybe his best game of the season, in my opinion, against one of the best right tackles in football in Lane Johnson. And so you have those things. You get the takeaway on the punt. You know, you're inside the 5, and then you settle for a field goal from like the 18 or the 19-yard line.
Yeah.
They just didn't capitalize. They didn't go for the jugular when they had takeaways yesterday. And you can't do that. That is the type of game you're going to have to beat a team that's that caliber if you want to get to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl. And
100%.
yesterday showed that they're not quite on that level, because they're not willing to go outside of the box of what gets them to certain games. They just want to run it, drub it up, run it. And against an Eagles team that we said all week, that is a dominant defensive line. They are a dominant defensive line. We had our concerns about how we would be able to run the ball. They still tried to do it, tried to run right down their throat the first 3 possessions. And by that point, the Eagles are already up 17-3.
Yeah, that's the thing that kind of annoys me about Mike Tomlin, is he says these things in the press conferences like, starting slow doesn't define games, it's how you finish them. Well, Mike, it's really hard to win fucking games when you ask your defense to just do so much all the time. I mean, they're starting these games. They rarely ever score a touchdown first.
Jerry, I don't even remember when we ever started scoring a touchdown opening drive.
Kev, they're always either down 7-0, 10-0, 3-0 to start games. They're never in the driver's seat, and that's a big problem, man. And you know what? That last quarter was something terrible, man.
Embarrassing.
It was so embarrassing. And for Mike Tomlin not to go for it on that 4th and 7 is bananas. You're going against one of the best rushing attack, I think the best rushing attack in football. A team that just consistently gets first downs, one of the best teams on third down.
Yep.
And what? Because you had a couple stops early in the game, you trust your defense to continually make stops. The Eagles had the ball for 11 minutes.
Jerry, did you
11 minutes.
Did you hear what his Mike Tomlin's excuse? So today's Monday. We're recording about 7:30. Mike Tomlin did his presser today on a Monday because it's a short week. Steelers play the Ravens on Saturday, so it's a Monday press conference. And he says the reason that he didn't go for it on 4th and 7 was because if it was 4th and 5, he felt like he would have went for it. But on 4th and 7, it was outside of their range on what they would actually think that they could get. Bro, you're down 2 fucking scores at that point in the game.
On the road.
There's this index where these people track how much, when you should be punting, when you shouldn't be punting, et cetera, success rates, that type of stuff, given down and distance and score, and all of those things are calculated into it. They said that Tomlin's punt yesterday, when they were down in that moment, Tomlin's punt ranked in the 98th percentile of cowardly punts this season, and in the 95th percentile since the stat has been tracked since 1999.
Yeah, that's sad. That's sad.
That's for a guy, and listen, this season we've really come around on Mike Tomlin and we've gassed him up. However, yesterday his clock management at the end of that first half, Jerry, was abysmal.
Unbelievable.
The Steelers get the ball, minute 55 when TJ makes that sack to stop the Eagles' drive towards the end of the first half, and then they let 25 seconds run off the clock before he calls the timeout. Ultimately, didn't come back to haunt them, didn't really make a difference one way or the other, but you can't coach as if it wasn't going to make a difference because you're not going to have that hindsight looking back on it. So he fucked that up. That should have been a timeout immediately. They let that 25 seconds run off the clock, and he said he was caught up in something else at the moment. He was caught up in something else. What could you be caught up in at the end of the first half when you need these fucking points and you have a prime opportunity to take a drive down the field when you know that the Eagles get the ball to start the second half? So that excuse, to me, shitty answer out of Mike Tomlin. But to not go for it there in that moment, and then you don't even see the football again, man. You don't even see the fucking football again. It's for a guy who says we don't want to live in our fears, Jerry. He does live in his fears quite a fucking lot. Would you not agree?
No, I would agree too, Kev. I really would. Listen, I'm still behind Mike Tomlin. You're behind Mike Tomlin.
I am.
It was a bad game, man, all the way around. Another thing that not a lot of people are talking about, but Russell Wilson did talk about it in his presser yesterday. it felt like, and I look back and I was watching the game over again today, and I was rewatching things. They were like 3rd and 18, 3rd and 20, 3rd and 24,
Yep.
3rd and 14, so many times. I mean,
Yep.
against a defense like that, that's a recipe for failure, man.
Yep.
You're not going to win games like that, especially against teams like the Eagles, juggernauts like that.
Without George Pickens.
Yeah, they were behind the 8 ball all day long, start to finish. Like I said, you said it, had a chance to really tie up that game 2020, get some momentum there. Fucked over, what are you going to do?
Najee coughs it up, and here's the thing. A lot of people immediately wanted to shit on Najee Harris, and obviously for 3 years I was a Najee Harris, not a big fan. Didn't think he was the fastest, didn't think he had great vision. A lot of reasons I've criticized Najee Harris. This year I don't think it's so much Najee Harris's issue as it is the predictability of the play calling. For that's what it comes back to me for, man. It comes back to the predictability of the play calling. We say that we have this much improved offensive line. You feel like you're much better across the offensive line, and yet we still cannot have a successful run game. To me, it's the time.
They started great in the beginning of the year. They started great.
They did, because here's the thing. Here's why it looks better, in my opinion, early in the year. Teams don't know your tendencies just yet. You know what I mean? There's not a ton of film out there on Arthur Smith with the Steelers. So now that you're 15 games into this thing, and teams know your tendencies, they're gonna know the same way I told you a few weeks ago. Up until that Bengals game, the Steelers ran the ball 70% of the time on first down, 80% of the time on first down. Like, that's fucking insane. You can't do that shit, man. No. Not in today's league. They ran into 7-man or 8-man fronts over 50% of the time yesterday against a team that is way too good defensive line to try and get through them. And so that to me, the play calling was horrendous. But to not have George Pickens, Jerry, it's finally starting to rear its ugly head. Last week, Tomlin says he's beating his chest essentially in his press conference, saying maybe you guys will get off of us for you wanted us to bring in other receivers, and who are you trading for? What are you going to do to the wide receiver room? The strength of the pack is the pack. Guess what, motherfucker? Yesterday that pack was dog shit. You don't have another elite wide receiver, especially Jerry. Mike Williams is on a milk carton. Why trade for that guy if he's going to play 3 snaps a game?
Kev, I don't know. I mean, we've tried to figure it out. There was accusations that like he just doesn't know the playbook. I think that's
been
bullshit.
over a month now, dude. If he doesn't know the playbook, this guy's brain dead. He's not going to learn the playbook, and I don't think that that's what it is.
No, I don't think so either. I just think they're just kind of like stuck in their ways. You know what I mean? And it all comes back to Kev. I mean, it's really starting to show itself now later in the year. Listen, I love Omar Khan. I've loved what he has done so far in his short time as our GM, but it was everybody's concern. Everybody on Steelers Twitter, all Steelers fans, what the fuck are we going to do? We need to get a wide receiver too. They refuse to go do that. They get Mike Williams at the deadline, and he has 1 catch, big catch.
Jerry, it was specifically this, though. It was, what if George Pickens gets hurt? What are you going to do without George? And George Pickens nearly never got hurt. I don't think he missed a game in his Steelers career up until he's missed these last couple. So you're thinking, he's reliable. But then you have the hamstring injury, and this is what it looks like. Jerry, if this is what it looks like, you give George Pickens a blank check and you say, take whatever fucking number you want and fill it in there, because we cannot survive. This is not realistic. Yesterday's offense was downright pathetic, Jerry. It's the first time since 1995 the Steelers had under 200 total yards of offense while giving up 400 to the opposing team. You're talking 30 years, dude. 40 years is what they're coming up on for these types of stats. That's horrendous, but that's because they went into the season empty when it came to the wide receiver position. So yes, you have to criticize Mike Tomlin. You have to criticize Omar Khan. Those are the 2 guys that are building the roster out, and they fucked us, especially if you're not going to have a guy like Roman Wilson. You're not going to give the ball to Mike Williams. Okay, if that's the case, man, and you want to ride out there and die with Ben Skoranek and Scotty Miller and Van Jefferson. And
Van Jefferson, by the way, I mean, we got to call a spade a spade. He's not it, man. He's just not it.
He's not wide receiver 2, and yesterday wide receiver 1.
I don't think he's wide receiver 3, to be honest with you, Kev. I don't think honestly, I don't think he's an NFL player.
Jerry,
I don't.
It looks a lot like what it was Allen Robinson last year, in my opinion. We said Allen Robinson is done, brother. He is done. He has nothing left in the legs, nothing left in the tank. I don't know if Allen Robinson is on a football team this year. If he is, he's irrelevant. I like same way he was in Pittsburgh last year. That is Van Jefferson to me, and it's no disrespect. These are the guys the Steelers put in front of us. So these are the the guys I'm going to talk about. And I don't think Van Jefferson has had a very good season, and he's definitely should not be on the field as many snaps as he has over Mike Williams. He shouldn't be.
Very good season, and Van Jefferson, in the same sense, isn't even close. He has not done a thing this year. He had one pretty big catch. That's about it down the whole year.
Yeah.
I mean, he's irrelevant. He's just doing cardio out there. There's no point of you can pick up somebody else up in free agency or something next year. Just it's going to be so much better than Van Jefferson. He is nothing. Nothing. He contributes zero to this offense.
That is
zero.
Priority 1A this offseason.
Oh yeah. And you know what 1B is? And I don't give a fuck who I get backlash for it or not. Cornerback. Joey Porter. I mean, Dante Jackson getting older. Joey Porter Jr. has not lived up to the hype. He's not, and I'm not saying he's a bad cornerback because I don't think he's a bad cornerback.
He's not a bad cornerback.
No, I think he's a pretty good cornerback, but I think we all had expectations of him being this lockdown corner. He has the talk. He talks a lot, talking a lot of shit yesterday. He got abused, man. He got abused really, really bad. A.J. Brown made him his bitch. It seems like when he goes up against these better, wide receivers, he tends to lose those matchups pretty often. Very grabby. Didn't really have a penalty yesterday, but the missed tackles and the secondary is a problem. I will say that.
The secondary is a problem. The secondary is a problem. When the pass rush does not get home, the secondary is a problem. I thought the missed tackles were awful yesterday across the board. Patrick Queen missed tackles on 14. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Gainwell.
Yes, Kenneth Gainwell. So you don't have great tackling out of Joey Porter Jr. or Patrick Queen on that 3rd and 9 around like the 15-yard line. Ultimately, they take it to the 2 and punch the ball in. At that point, we're down 2 scores late in the game.
Yeah.
I thought Minka didn't have a very good game, and it's getting to a point now where, man, I know we're going to get flooded with comments that people are like, oh, Minka's doing what they're asking him to do. Maybe he is, man. But for $18 million a season, I just expect more out of Minka. I do. I just expect more. And if that makes me I don't know ball, then you can say I don't know ball. But for a guy making $18 million, he has he has no splash plays. Not nearly no. He has no splash plays.
He has zero.
He makes a great tackle here and there. He stops a breakaway run here and there. Maybe they're not giving up explosive plays, and that's what they're asking him to do. But I just feel like a guy with his talent that had a few amazing seasons for us, he just fell off a fucking cliff. Joey Porter Jr., I agree with you, Jerry. I thought every time he goes against an elite, like one of the big dog wide receivers, I feel like he's just a little bit out of place. He just doesn't know how to play the position just yet without being so handsy, without being so grabby. He'll be in position, and yet they'll still make a play because he's not getting his head around in time. It happened yesterday with A.J. Brown.
I dropped the pick yesterday too.
He just has so much growing and learning to do, and you're right. We had high expectations because last year I thought he had a very good rookie season, very promising rookie season.
Yeah.
Going into this year, I'm like, I think Joey Porter Jr. is going to have a fucking banging shutdown type of cornerback season. And it's not to say he's not that guy, but he's not that guy right now. And as Steelers fans, we got to stop gassing these guys up when they're just not there yet, because he is absolutely one of them.
I hate this fucking room, Kevin.
This is every week, Jerry. It goes dark in the darkest moments of the show too. So
it does, right? Isn't that crazy?
It knows. Officiating yesterday, Jerry Don. Officiating is I hate to do this because it makes us sound like we're crying about spilt milk. We're just being crybaby fans. I thought the Steelers got absolutely fucking hosed by the officials yesterday.
I do too. I mean, the Zach Frazier penalty was crazy.
Tripping on the guy. The guy tripped over his legs, and you called tripping on Zach Frazier on that play.
Nuts. And Darius Slay punched Darnell. Clear as day.
Darnell blocks him out of the end zone, and I loved it. And, in the moment, maybe Darnell Washington, when he realizes he is in the end zone, let it go. End the play. Like, that's good. But here's the thing. For years, you used to see Gronkowski do that shit. Block guys the whole way off the field, out of the end zone. Never any penalties. Darnell Washington does it yesterday. Darius Slay very fucking clearly throws the punch. Do you know what pisses me off about the officials' explanation in the poll interviews after? So, in the poll interviews, the officials get asked questions by reporters. We don't ever get to see those, but you can read like the poll report, which is basically all the information. They type it out for you. You can read it that way. The officials come out and they say something along the lines of, New York had a chance to review this. Since the flag is on the ground, New York can buzz in and say, hey, this is a penalty, things you guys didn't see. They have the ability to do that now. They're saying even the New York officials didn't see any punches thrown. I can count 3 different Eagles thrown punches, none by the Steelers, and yet they call 2 penalties on the Steelers. So that one was fucking horrendous, Jerry, and I don't care. Call me a homer, call me a hater. It was awful fucking officiating out of the NFL yesterday. These things are still changing the outcomes of games. Should have been 1st and goal for the Steelers at like the 3 with Najee on that outside catch and run, and then they have to settle for the field goal that backs them up. But to me, it's the fucking Connor Hayward gets punched in the head, Jerry. He gets punched right in the fucking face mask. And they initially they get the call right, should have been Steelers ball, and then they said no, it was after the kick was in the air. All the replays very clearly show gets punched in the head shoots to the side, then the ball shoots out from behind him. It is the NFL could easily fix this fucking shit, and they don't. And to me as a fan, it's like, dude, I'm way too invested in it, and there are millions of other people way too invested in it for them to just simply not get it right when they have all the technology and ability to get it right.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand about that play. When I was watching the game here at Barstool, I was saying to myself, how the fuck is it Eagles' ball? That makes zero sense.
No sense at all. No sense at all.
I'm like, it should be our ball 15 yards closer. What the fuck is going on?
Let me explain to you why it doesn't make sense. When the kicker kicks the ball and the ball's gone, if he gets run into, okay, it's after he kicked the ball, right? It still goes back, right? The offense still gets to keep the ball. So even if it were that he smacked him in the face after the fact, how the fuck is that any different? It's the same concept, man.
Yeah.
That's a stupid fucking rule. It's a stupid fucking rule, and officials...
And then the personal foul on that field goal. Come on, dude. Come on. What are we doing?
He got blocked into him. He got blocked into the center. So in the NFL, we know you can't... If the long snapper is down on a field goal, on a punt, you can't touch him. You can't go over him.
I hate that rule, by the way.
It's dumb as shit. It's dumb as fucking shit, personally. But it's for player safety and everything else that they fucking jerk us off trying to tell us. But the fact that he got blocked into it and then they called it, I thought, honestly, man, the Steelers had a very clear slant against them yesterday. So much so I'm going to read you one statistic, and it is a crazy one. Alan Eck was the head official yesterday. Over the past 4 years, the home team has won 70% of the time, 70% of the time, 81% of the time, 71% of the time. The home team around the league was never higher than 56.34 in any other officials' crews.
That's pretty crazy.
If it is an Alan Eck officiated crew at home, bet them. Bet the house on them. You got a 75% chance that they're going to win the game because the officials are definitely fucking helping them out.
We got to keep an eye on that for gambling purposes.
Oh, 100%. As soon as I read that, I'm like, God damn, what game is he covering this weekend?
Yeah, we got to follow this guy.
I don't know, Jared. I mean, as much as I'm pissed off about that game, and I am pissed off, we both knew that they were probably going to lose that game.
Yeah, and I feel bad, like the fans of our show just being like bashing us a little bit, saying, fucking, you got to believe. Listen, there's no George Pickens.
Right.
There's no Elliott. I mean, it's tough. You just knew. I just knew going into that game we were just outmatched.
And it's a hard place to play. And you're going to go in there without Deshaun Elliott, Ogunjobi, George Pickens. And yet still they had the chance. If Najee Harris, and this is what I want to say earlier, I'm not going to ride him because he nearly never fumbles. Okay? He nearly never fumbles. But when you're pitching the ball 12, 15 times a game, bad shit might happen, man. The ball, that's a risk every time you do it. And so bad shit might happen. Maybe if you don't run the pitch every fucking time, he wouldn't have fumbled the football. It was Najee's fault, though. It's a great pitch, right in the numbers. Should have had it. But they had the chance right then, Jerry, to make it a 2020 game. Yeah. And for me, everything that game showed me up until that point, if they just cleaned it up, if they didn't get fucked by the penalties, if they don't fumble that ball there and they go in and score the game, the Steelers are in that game blow for blow after being down 14 points early, had the takeaways, had every chance to be, take the lead early in the game. They were in the game. So for me, it just validated, like, look, they're close. Maybe I agree they're not on that upper tier just yet, but they are getting much closer to being in that upper tier, and they have the pieces. They could have been in that upper tier yesterday.
No, for sure. The thing that I'm worried about is the injury bug now, man. I feel like guys are starting to get dinged up at bad times. Jackson with his back, TJ's his foot, ankle, Elliott down, Pickens down, Larry O down. So you're starting to see guys get dinged up a little bit. We got to stay healthy, man. We got to stay healthy for this stretch. Honestly, I just want to fucking beat the Ravens. And, because at that point, you're really not fighting for anything else, after that Ravens game.
That's
if we
the
do
season
win.
Right there. Win it.
That's pretty much, it's pretty much the season. You're not going to get a 2 seed. You're not going to get a 1 seed. So you're probably going to be 3 or 4 seed. You'll have a home playoff game, and that's kind of it. You could kind of take a week off at the end of the season.
100%. So I'm looking at it this way now. And, if the injuries are going to pile up and going through a gauntlet of 11 games or 11 days, 3 games, you're going to have injuries. We have to pray to God TJ's okay. And now, thankfully, Tomlin came out and said he saw him early in the morning, and he was walking around fine, no limp. Like he said all those guys we mentioned, Lario, George, Elliott, TJ, all those guys, he has said that they are not doubtful this week. So for them to not be doubtful on Monday, that's big. I think you would have to saw TJ's foot off for him to not play Sunday, especially knowing that the division is on the line.
Oh, I agree.
TJ's going to fucking play Sunday if I had to bet my life on it. But you win this game, you take the 3 or the 4 seed, guaranteed. You lock it up. You have one home playoff game in the wild card round. You can sit them, Jerry. Then the Chiefs game doesn't mean much. The Bengals game doesn't mean much. And I know that we don't want to have that attitude, but maybe you rotate a bunch of snaps. Maybe these guys play 50% of the snaps, not the whole time. And so it sounds like, we punted on the Eagles yesterday. It would have been great to win that game because you pretty much would have locked up the division no matter what. But if we can go into Baltimore and we can beat them the way we have 8 of the last 9 fucking times, the Steelers then have 2 weeks before you have to worry about home playoff football. And that is all that matters. Get all of your fucking horses healthy, and then let's go into the playoffs fucking guns blazing.
No, I'd agree, Kev. I'd agree. This is obviously the biggest game of the year, biggest game of the season. You got to handle business. Offense has to get up back on track. Defense has to stop giving up these long drives.
Yep.
Win the fucking game. I don't give a fuck how they win. Just win. And these next 2 weeks, not saying take off, but you have the ability now to rest some guys, get some guys healthy, get some guys 100%.
Yep.
And we make our run that way,
It's not as doom and gloom. I think because my expectation was we would lose yesterday, I wasn't quite as upset as I normally would have been if I expected us to win. And so I was okay with it. The TJ injury really fucking stings, and you got to pray that he's okay. But if he is okay and they get George Pickens back this week, the season is still right where we want it to be. Jerry, 10-4, it's still right where we want it to be. We can win the fucking division. It's not done. And even if we lose to the Ravens, which will suck dick, it will suck if we lose to the Ravens because then we're tied, same record in the standings. They still play the Texans the following week on the road in Houston. And, we get the Chiefs at home Christmas night. They're playing Christmas Day, same as us. So we both play on Christmas. The season can still be decided then. And then to the final week, then we play a Bengals team, which you think would be benching some of their players. And the Ravens ultimately are going to play another bum. I think they play the Browns the final weeks of the season. Mm-hmm. So even though if we would lose, and I don't think we're going to lose Sunday or Saturday, even if we do, the season's not done though. Like we still can win the fucking division. And so we have to keep these things in mind. That's what I tried to tell myself yesterday when I'm leaving. I'm like, look, it fucking hurts. It sucks to lose that game. Hard place to fucking play, but you still win the division. It's still everything we wanted it to fucking be.
Yeah, just guarantee yourself at least one home playoff game, at least one. Dude.
Right. And that's all.
Possibly 2, you never know.
That's all that matters, but you should be playing for that division. Like, I get it. We clinched the play. We know we're in the playoffs. We clinched the playoffs. Like, that's like the silver lining in the day yesterday. We're like, we fucking made the playoffs. But I think a lot of people are like, but if that's the team that plays in the playoffs, well, guess what? If that's the team that plays in the playoffs, I agree. We're going to get boat raced by nearly anybody that we fucking play. But that shouldn't be the team that plays in the playoffs. We should be healthy, hopefully, fingers crossed. And if they are, I still like our fucking chances. And
Same
so
here.
I'm not out. Like, I'm not ready to quit on this fucking thing because I really do think that they're going to beat the Ravens and be kings of the fucking North. So that's where I'm at with it. Jerry, anything else you want to add to this episode?
No, man. Looking forward to recording later on in the week, man. And, I hope Tomlin's right. I hope it's just a loss, like he says. And that's it. There's not much more to it.
Yeah, we'll try and record again Wednesday just because the game is Saturday. So we'll try and record again Wednesday, get one out Thursday morning that we have Thursday, Friday, and then up until kickoff Saturday to do it. We appreciate you guys. Continue, like, comment, subscribe. Let's get the subscribers up. It's hilarious when people try and talk shit and say you don't know ball. One of our followers took a screenshot of the subscribers we have on YouTube, and the comment was, "Who listens to these two fucking idiots?" And he said, well, apparently 17,000 people listen to them. So Jerry's audio cut out. Yeah, it cut out. We appreciate you guys. Continue, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you feel going into this fucking Ravens game. It's a tough loss, but they'll be back. I mean, I'm not going to doubt them yet. They'll be back. We love you guys. We'll see you here again Thursday. Later, Jer.
We're here. We're still here.
We are still here.